And because it's the first day of February 14th, as we all know, it's Valentine's Day, love and marriage. That's what we're going to be talking about sa ating immigration update.
This American Dream segment is brought to you by Aquino & Lowe Law Firm, answering your immigration questions.
He is one of two immigration lawyers that we consult regularly here on Kababayan, LA. But this afternoon, he's also going to be our love doctor as we talk about love and marriage through the immigration officer's eyes. Hello and welcome once again to Kababayan, LA, Dr. Richard Lowe.
Thank you for having me.
So there are many problems. Make no mistake about it. It's not a secret. Some people get married for papers.
Yes, they do.
And the penalty for that is?
Well, it's a federal crime, punishable by up to 5 years in prison. And $25,000 fine.
And how many of these fraudulent marriages actually get caught for what they are?
Well, it's hard to say. You know, I think by and large, it's hard to pull off. I think people think it's a lot easier just to go in there and make up a story and say you're married. They've gotten very sophisticated, some of the things that we talk about later, but electronically, immigration now is checking your Facebook, checking your Twitter, seeing if there is really a relationship.
Connection or relationship.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, when you're bragging about your boyfriend and you're married to this other guy,
right,
that's a problem.
Even lawyers, it's so hard to find lawyers that will get into this with you because, you know, Richard, you yourself you test your clients or prospective clients, right? Because you don't want to get into something like this.
Yeah, you know, I want to make sure that what they're coming to me with is something legitimate, you know. So I ask them a lot of questions. I make sure that they have their stories together and straight. And if I suspect that there's a problem, I'll let them know that. And I won't take a case, and we won't take a case where we believe that there is marriage fraud involved.
Although there are some relationships, but that when you first look at it, it can be very, it's not very convincing. It raises a lot of questions.
Sure. Like
some of the cases that we're going to be talking about today on the show. Let's take a look at this first slide for a case of, I think it's a May-December affair. Imelda is 47 years old, U.S. citizen, recently married. Jojo, he is 28, only recently arrived from the Philippines. He has moved into her house and has not yet found a job. Why not? Just because you're 47 years old doesn't mean that you can't find love with a younger man.
That's exactly right. And this is funny because it's usually a problem when the woman is older and the man is younger. It almost always raises a few red flags with immigration. Not so much when the man is older and the woman is younger.
Really?
So, well, I think that's just a societal bias. But if this is a situation where you have a big age difference, and immigration is always going to look at that a lot closer, and you need to pay more attention about the evidence that you provide. And all the cases that we'll talk about is really evidence. What are you going to give the immigration service? You know, the Beatles said all you need is love, but immigration, they want, you know, what have you done for me lately?
Yes,
you know?
Love is not enough, apparently, for the immigration officer's next case, and we're going to be talking about some of these cases first and collectively later. Tomas and Cynthia have been married for a year. Tomas is a U.S. citizen and works as a truck driver. Cynthia has been in the U.S. for 7 years and works as a live-in caregiver. They share a house with Tomas's parents and a family friend. That could be questionable as well.
Well, what really happens in this situation is probably Tomas and Cynthia have had their own lives for a while, and so he has a bank account, she has a bank account, and they don't really spend a lot of time in the mutual home because he's a truck driver and he's off driving long hauls, and she's a live-in caregiver, and so she's living in a different situation.
I get that.
So a lot of times we don't have them living at the same house at the same time, so this causes evidentiary problems of showing that you are actually spending time there living together.
Right. And so that doesn't have anything to do with, you know, extended family. You know how Filipinos are. We mga titos and titas live with.
Yeah. Well, yes, that's also an issue. The issue in there is that because other people are living in the house, sometimes you don't own the house. Somebody else owns the house, and so you don't have any papers that show you're actually renting or you're actually paying bills there.
Okay. All right. Third situation, is this an internet marriage, internet love affair? Markson and Marita met while chatting on Facebook. He works in Los Angeles and she lives in San Diego. After a 6-month online courtship, they get married in Las Vegas. She continues to go to school in San Diego while he works in LA and drive down every other weekend. So part-time husband and wife. In cases like this that it's questionable, what must you do and what shouldn't you do? We have the don'ts right here. First item.
Well, really what we're talking about, like we've talked about all these, is making sure that you're documenting that you're together. So bringing your financial records together, bringing your insurance and all of those things under one umbrella is a good idea. And particularly for these long-distance relationships, you're going to have to document that you've traveled to the other location or that person has come, and have a good explanation as to why you're living in one city and your spouse is living in another. One of the don'ts that I have up here is don't use your sister's mailing address. I don't know why, but a lot of people have had one mailing address and they don't want to change even though they've moved.
I'm like that. My parents' house, it's still there. But I'm not married, so it's
that
okay.
creates problems when you get married. So maybe it's practical for some people, but in an immigration context, you shouldn't. You should open a joint bank account, but you should use the bank account. Don't park $100 in there and then continue to use your separate accounts. You should use that account as your primary account for everything.
And then document, I guess, your relationships. Take pictures, correct?
Yeah, take pictures. I don't know how many people have told me, oh, well, we just don't take pictures. Well, you're married, take pictures. You know, take pictures in the holidays, take pictures with other family members, particularly your spouse's family members, so that you can show that you're holding your marriage out to the public.
Do all couples get questioned, or only the ones that are, you know, and the immigration officers find the need to talk to them directly?
Every couple will get questioned, but the extent of that questioning depends on how you do. So if the first interview you go to and there's a lot of issues, there's a lot of questions you didn't answer correctly, they may bring you back for a second interview. In the meantime, they'll do an investigation. So it just depends on how you answer the questions. And one of the last thing I put up there is don't make up facts. And you want to say, oh, well, I live here and we live together, even though you're living in separate cities, because you want the immigration to have a better picture of you. But those kinds of facts that you're making up is only going to harm your case. You really have to go forward with the way your life is, as kooky and crazy as that is, and that is much better than trying to manufacture something that's not real, even though you're in a real relationship.
So be truthful and be in love. That's the number to call on the screen if you want to get more information, if you want to consult your case with Dr. Richard Lowe here. Thank you so much. And happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
We'll be back for more on Kababayan LA. Don't go away.